10 seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Reserve time.
Lead for most of the game, peaking up at about 20,000 gold lead for Cloud9. They failed to close out game number 2. Alliance make the comeback. And we're now here in game number 3, a best of 1 to determine who gets into the DAC European playoffs.
Alliances turn to
Did have most of the control of the game. Is Alliance going to be able to do this? Can they give us a magical game 3 and advance into these playoffs?
They've shown improvements day by day. And that's why even though they were losing this series, it was already a much better showing against Cloud9 than what we saw on the first best of 3. It still looked like they were destined to lose the series until they managed to pull that crazy comeback. So we'll see what they take away from it going into this game 3, whether or not Cloud9 can stay composed. Players like Loda, EGM have been down and in these terrible positions before. I feel like Cloud9 is a team more likely to be rattled by such a loss. So I still feel like Cloud9 come into this game 3 though, like slightly favored. I mean, maybe even more than slightly favored based on the overall performance of the two teams we've seen so far.
10 seconds remaining.
Oh, something else. Looking at the game, and you and I were just kind of like buying time in the cast, waiting for something to happen, waiting for C9 to try and close out the game. But every single time they win high ground against the sniper, just wasn't good enough. Even with the supposed to be base breaking combination of Lone Druid and the Warlock, it wasn't good enough. And we'll see a different draft here in this game 3 is going to be banned out by Alliance. They don't want to deal with that again. Cloud9 will pick up an Ogre first pick rather than Slardar. Alliance immediately respond with a big Slardar of their own. See what the combination heroes are going to be. Do they take Sniper away? Ooh. Because that could be Cloud9's choice with Ogre. Instead they go for the Darkseer Slardar comp.
Often within like a best of 3 or a best of 5, you'll see like a little mini metagame develop. And I feel like going to game 3, if I was one of the captains drafters, in my head would be like, Ogre Sniper duo is winning games right now. Like this is something which you want to maybe just go right into. So Alliance ban the Lone Druid, and Cloud9's probably thinking, hey, if we first pick Slardar, they get Ogre Sniper, and Ogre Sniper is pretty good against Slardar because more often than not, as Slardar, you're initiating on one of the frontliners, and Sniper then is just going to pew every way. But they don't take Sniper, they take SF, and I like it. I think they're more comfortable with the SF. They were picking it early in some of the previous games, but then they got counterpicked by the Sniper. This time around, they have the option to either ban the Sniper or make sure that they can do pretty well in that lane with the Ogre support. Yeah, it was banned out in the second stage last game, but yeah, it is surprising to see it really going down a rung as far as priority. It seems, for the most part, it's these more utility heroes and supports that are being prioritized, and then occasionally you'll see like, yeah, the SFs, the Snipers, the Lone Druids, but it's I don't know. I don't really have this is why I think Ember's not being picked. It just seems like teams have maybe decided something else works for them better than the Ember, because Ember is still a very scary hero in the right hands.
Doesn't really fit into Cloud9's lineup now with the S, but it could work for Alliance. The Darkseer with Ember Spirit, that would be a powerful combo for Limp to be able to run over C9's lineup about 15 minutes. See if Alliance they're going to ban.
Yeah. Perhaps some of the supports, they banned the Disruptor. I mean, this Crystal Maiden's the hero from last game. Oh, the offlane Enigma we saw going back to that first series was very problematic. Gives C9 that teamfight option, and of course the Lifestealer ban with the Slardar, an obvious choice. All 3 Alliance wins in DAC have come with Loda on Lifestealer, so definitely worthy of a ban, with or without Slardar, I'd say at this point. Okay.
He gets disrupted. We've seen how some of these heroes like SF and Luna can just crumple under the weight of their own illusions.
And I think it also is setting up for a Luna / Terrorblade as their carry, probably. I mean, it is a nice save hero, but I feel like they've been preferring the Venge. Like, if they weren't going to go for an illusion-oriented hero, to me, this would just be Alliance picking a Venge instead as that 5 position, or even the Dazzle they've been picking more. So the SD, to me, makes me think they're going, Terrorblade, Luna. They've got maybe just try and take the team fight advantage with a Luna, but even the Terrorblade works pretty well against the SF because of his range advantage, and then you've got Reflection, which is the same thing the aggressive Disruption does. Reflection completely can cripple an SF as well.
So how do you deal with the SD? What kind of lineup do you want? You want to see some Mjolnir heroes? You want to see some aggressive initiators? Don't let Alliance get set up in the first place. What are your thoughts?
Axe is going to be a good option, I think, just so you can get the jump first and take the initiation factor into your own hands. I don't think you have to necessarily worry about clearing the illusions. Just put yourself in a position where, like the game they were in last game, like you get an advantage like that where you're controlling the map. You're not worried about that illusion push too much. So I feel like Cloud9, rather than try and draft to clear illusions out, just draft heroes that are going to suit their own style, and they're going to go for a more. I mean, they often go for very early 5-man push. We saw it last game. 10 minutes in, they'd taken 5 towers. Like, that's an incredibly fast pace that no other teams are even really matching right now. And Chen will do a very similar thing to their draft.
10 seconds remaining.
Takes the tempo away from Alliance's potential push strategy, puts it into the hands of Cloud9. It also helps deal with those dual lanes, right? Our darks here, we have the we still can have a potential, Cloud9 can grab a safe lane carry that can deal with that kind of pressure relatively okay, but then you also have the Chen rotations that come in that can do more than any other traditional support could when he brings in those first 2 creeps.
Yeah, my first thought was like, oh, it could actually hurt their lanes, but then, like you say, like when you do come in, you're getting kills and completely turning that lane around. So we'll have to see what Ace ends up on, but it needs to be something that's not going to just die to that lane. The Weavers may be an option. We've seen it a lot against the Slaughter, and even though it doesn't sound great with the Corrosive Haze there, you can always time-lapse it off, and you are hard to get on top of with Sprint, thanks to the Shikuchi.
Said TB, Luna, and haven't decided either one. Maybe they'll leave it open for last pick just to get a bit more information. They could choose their mid against the SF right now. If so, ideas behind there.
The Ember is still tempting option if you want to go like that Luna approach. Like having an Ember with the Veil means you're worried about that 5-man push coming in. If Ember can get a decent time on Veil, you've got a lot of burst damage to go just throw into the Cloud9 draft. But I think then you're also worried about them just hitting this like mechless pipe timing where all that damage can also be negated if you do farm a bit too slow. And if you lose one fight, you get set back. Well, that is not the hero I don't think anyone was really expecting at this point.
Yeah. But then again, we made our predictions before the Chen pickup, right? And this is still a pushing style hero, very similar to the Terrorblade. Heavy amount of intense amount of physical damage being output by this Clinks, and will gobble up Chen creeps for breakfast and use that extra HP to his own good.
Yeah, this is a nice option to deal with the hero. Cloud9 instantly picked Timbersaw, which could be the safe laner, could be the offlane. I think more likely going to be the safe laner, just based on how their role allocations typically work and the fact they currently have no initiation whatsoever, which makes me lean more towards Hestejo picking up that like last pick, Axe, Sand King, Centaur type hero. A good option against the Clinks with all the reactive armor. Both SF and Timbersaw aren't too scared of Clink skanks once they have items. The first early couple rotations, if you're playing that super aggressive style rotating Clinks with just like Treads, Blightstone, Soul Ring, where you get creeps, level 7, level 8, just roam around the map, can be problematic. But once you have a few like stat items, SF has very high armor, has good HP pool, he's not going to die to Clink skanks very easily. Although the Slaughter Corrosive Haze is there to help enable the Clinks.
What ties it all together? Because they have this sustain here in the darks here. They've got plenty of pressure in the lanes. Is it a
Quap type hero?
Yeah, I was thinking Quap.
Yeah, it's... Quap's just, I guess, more like the flavor pick we're seeing. The Ember is still a possibility.
10 seconds remaining.
You got magic damage against the Timbersaw, so that may be something you're interested in. Tinker, that's...
Dire team pick.
also would have been a good possibility. A bit more magic burst damage, and also stops the 5-man push very well.
Damage. Say you don't want to go for the Ember, the Mirana versus the SF. The only reason I'm kind of suggesting is because they do have a Shadow Demon.
Alliance's turn to
Or
pick.
nay.
Yeah, I think Mirana can work for them. Limp is very comfortable in the hero. I've seen him play quite a bit. Takes a bit more farm, perhaps. Like I feel like a Queen can perhaps fight a bit earlier on, whereas Mirana, you're maybe going to hit that Axe timing after you've already lost like 3 tier 1 towers and maybe a tier 2 tower. Sometimes the Axe is just a bit slow, but I think the hero can definitely work this game. It's the right kind of fit for their draft. I don't think they want more physical. I think they want the Mirana, the Quap. But they have a completely different idea. They want to kind of delay it out, but Alchemist.
I was gonna say like both those heroes we're talking about, right? Mobile magic damage dealers. Both of them have a problem with the Spirit Breaker. I was like, oh Jesus, that Spirit Breaker is gonna be a problem no matter what. I thought they were gonna turn to like maybe a Puck, but completely different route. They go for an Alchemist, more minus armor, and a lot more farm time. Cloud9, they do have some pushing power in Chen as well as the SF, especially with the Bloodlusted SF. This is either going to go amazing for Alliance, and they're going to hold off those for a couple of pushes, and then Clinks is going to take up time and do things while Alchemist farm, or they're just going to get run over so quickly.
Yep. I think the big question is how well will Alliance be able to defend without the Alchemist? Because ideally you want to have the other 4 heroes defending and delaying and being disruptive, to pushing their timings while Alchemist just farms. What we saw Nip do the other day with the Alchemist of Quickfoot, where the whole time the game was like 4v5. Alliance were trying to just push down towers and make stuff happen with their Chaos Knight draft around the top lane, but they were trading evenly while Alchemist free farmed. If your other 4 heroes can be effective around the map while Alchemist farms the jungle, then you're looking good if you're Alliance. But Cloud9 have a pretty scary lineup as far as being able to push towers early with Chen, and Alliance's wave clear is somewhat lackluster.
My concern is that the Clinks feels like you mentioned the aggressive, like level 7, level 8 spends time in your jungle. He threatening, can kill supports release. Like that's the aggressive part that buys space for Alchemist. But I don't feel like the rest of Alliance's crew, besides the Clinks and maybe the Slardar, can really do that. Shadow Demon sets up other heroes. Maybe he sets up a Slardar stun. But the one notable hero is Jonas and Fawn, Darkseer. That's a slower off lane, very oppressive in lane, but doesn't go out and make things happen when you need it to happen. You need to be able to buy space. That's the one real concerning for the Alliance.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So I'm not sure what the answer is going to be. Perhaps it's going to come down to winning the lanes hard. You've got this Darkseer Slardar. I don't know. The safe lane isn't like necessarily a hugely dominant lane winning. Like Clinks is pretty good at zoning, but like SD Clinks, like that's not like a scary killing combo. So Spirit Breaker with some potential Ogre support, or even like an early Chen rotation with some creeps, can do some work to the Clinks. And if anything, pressuring Clinks in the lane is one of the best things you can do. This hero is not particularly good against aggressive lanes, and with an early Blightstone, he has even less stats to work around. So I feel like shutting down Loda in the early game lane stage could be a good approach to take for Cloud9.
And then on the flip side of things, if they do that, right, then Darkseer Slardar, they try and get more aggressive on Ace's Timbersaw because they're like, guys, our carry's being threatened. We need to threaten their carry. But Spirit Breaker is one of the better heroes to actually help out the safe lane from an off-laner position. If he gets in TP, it's a charge in. He can fight anytime past level 1. As soon as he gets the 1 in charge and 1 in bash, he's a fighting hero.
Absolutely. So, see where Ogre looks to go. It looks like for now he will be headed towards that middle lane. Has the Orb of Venom coming out for himself to harass with. So, wanting to at least zone and do a bit of damage to Limp's early game. But to me, Alchemist is always one of those heroes. Like, is it really worth even trying to smoke gank him or pressure him that much in the lane stage? He's always going to farm. You're better off shutting down the tempo controllers and the heroes that are going to create space for the Alchemist in the mid game and stop you from pushing towers. And that's where I look at the Clinks. So Noya will throw a couple ignites mid, it looks like, but I'd like to see him move off of this lane after the first couple creep waves. Once you've secured the SF his souls, that's like to me what he needs to do. Get SF souls and then leave the lane.
And that'll probably time up nicely when Rise is probably picked up his maybe level 2, hopefully level 3 by that point. You have the 2 creeps that you can go gank bottom together. If they actually back off of that mid lane, smoke together, we could see that kind of rotation that actually kills Dota's Clinks. It really does shut down that safe lane carry that you're talking.
Yep. Early Tornado, Rise is just happy to farm for now. We look for like a fast Arcane Boots, maybe even have to pick up a Dust early to make that rotation down bottom. It's something he'll need. And laning stage-wise, it does feel like neither team necessarily getting an edge from the lanes. It's going to come down to those first couple Chen rotations to really see how things are going to pan out.
He's feeling the ion shells, and he's also feeling the fact that he can't get close enough to get reactive armor stacks. So then the Slardar's Crush is all the more threatening, more armor. Eventually, with experience, he's able to aggro to.
Alk is feeling the heat mid, only has 2 CS with the 1 deny. But even Baby Knight himself, he wasn't getting all the CS that he should be getting. I feel like he's missed a couple. The tower made it a bit harder for him. The acid spray makes it a bit harder for him, so has led to Neuer sticking around a little bit longer and maybe calling for an early shrine usage now that he's out of HP and mana. You can't just suicide anymore, so tell Baby Knight, hey, just throw some razors to farm and then let's shrine up. But as it stands, early pressure on the Alk does mean that fast bottle or soul ring will be slowed down.
This is not sure what to do right now. 2.5 minutes in, he's got no creeps to work off of this area. They don't have a smoke either.
He's got the dust boots, so this is what I expected and wanted to see. Get Dealy an early double creep and then gank bottom with the dust. And I think it works a lot better if Neuer can come with for this gank as well, but even without, just put pressure on bottom lane, even if you're not finding kills.
Worked best if they were actually smoked up as well, since the wards laid down by Alliance early on does scout right rotation. They now reveal they definitely know. Lotus got push out invis. Scouting, figure out what's what. They are going to be able to get the charge on EGM. Well-timed disruption, but he's going to be pretty well surrounded here by all of these creeps. So that'll be our first blood. A bash from Hesta Joe secures them.
And now they can just take over this bottom lane. They didn't have to use too much for that. They've still got another charge, and Loda can't really stay down there. SD can't easily go back to that lane. Feels like a good lane for C9 to start dominating. I think immediately Alliance like, right, this bottom lane isn't going so well. Loda's actually, I mean, I don't know where he's headed. Perhaps all the way to the top lane. Perhaps he's looking for a pre-level 6 gank using this early strafe, because he is eyeing off Baby Knight, who doesn't have his shrine that was used by Neuer earlier, so it does make him a bit more vulnerable. But Bottle is coming out on the courier, so would be a nice play if Loda could find that courier.
Oh,
that's something I don't think. Yeah, nice. I know where Loda is now.
If he had gotten back to the Roadshroud, maybe all of this time would have been worth it. He could have invised up, gone on mid, but I have to give that up now. And get over to the top lane and try and 1v1 against Timbersaw and Syrio on who maybe he'll take bottom lane or well, I guess he can't really jungle because Limp's occupying that.
Yeah, the bottom tier 1 tower is getting low. This is where the Ogre comes in as well to make sure that there's no big alliance commitment to defend this one. Darkseer is going to be the one who has to rotate to defend the bottom tier 1 tower. So even not getting the tier 1 tower, it's still worth pressure and forcing these moves. And immediately Ace comes back bottom, so it does suggest they really want this tier 1 tower, and they can ideally get a kill as well.
As Joe has the charge. Now, our Timbersaw is not really going to be able to do much here to help him out. Hanskin's going to loop around the side here. Doesn't crush anything, just make it C9 can't pursue. This Ion Shell, double Ion Shell, is actually keeping them back from pushing this tower. They may get it eventually, but you get stalled up, and Loda gets a lot of free farm during that.
Yeah, I think this is rotations that ultimately work well for Alliance. They come out slightly on top. They delay the bottom push just a little bit. They get Loda a free lane to get his level 6 going. So Loda needs to just be level 6 with his Soul Ring and like a Ring of Aquila as early as possible, so he can start actually making some plays around the map. And this bottom lane is still being protected thanks to this double Ion Shell.
They really don't have a way to clear through the Ion Shell creeps. Like, none of these supports have, unless Noya's going to come in and fire blast a creep. That's not going to do a whole lot. Hester Joe can't really help either. So it's just repeated timber chains from Ace because he doesn't have Chakram yet.
Limp is level 4 though. You can see really the outcome of that mid lane for him. It's not a lot of farm, not much XP, but...
Oh, Jonas and Fon, you were doing so well,
yeah.
but as soon as you actually give them this kill, and all that time committed by Cloud9 becomes worth it because they get that offlaner.
And they've still got the arcane boots, so they've got the sustain for the lane. Timberzor hits level 6, so he can actually be a bit more independent. And Skin, careful, my friend. Ensnare was on cooldown, luckily for him. It just came back up on the Dark Troll Summoner. This is where it looks like C9 want to invade through this Radiant jungle, put up some wards, limit the Alchemist's farming locations as much as possible. So for now, they just don't feel confident in going too much further beyond where that bounty room was.
Just this double stack, and that should finish off his level 6. Lotus done something similar here at the top lane. Charge? Where is that going from? Oh, looks like he just trying to get back to base a little quicker. Rotation from Baby Knight with a haste rune. He's going to find Hanskin here. A TP out will allow Hanskin to survive. And
yeah, I saw that haste rune bottom, and I was like, this is like the dream rune to get as an SF. I'd love to see Baby Knight get active now. He's been quietly farming away. Looks like he will possibly get EGM. With the haste rune wearing off, he actually has to back off, it seems. But yeah, SF with early haste rune can be very dangerous. That guaranteed triple raise or anywhere on the map can find kills on most heroes, but well played by Alliance to give up any kills to it.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
Honestly, I think Alliance doing a very respectable job getting themselves space. Are going to be able to get a charge onto Yoda Sampan, and that.
Just enough mana for Ace to combo him down. That is consecutive deaths on the Darkseer. Means no real mech in sight. Does pick up the raindrops in response to that as a pseudo answer to some of that damage coming out from the Spirit Breaker or the Timbersaw potentially. More so the Spirit Breaker.
Lovely Chen creeps will help tank the tier 1 tower while they've got SF and Siege creep beating it down. They not have the kind of wave clear to be able to deal with this one. The acid spray is just a minor annoyance. They're going to bring Hanskin in as well as Jonas Sampan, so they can actually fight if Cloud9 try and make another case like that. Wisely, Cloud9.
Yeah, and they had good vision on the high ground, so they recognize enough of the TPs coming in that they may as well back off now. And once they see Alliance back off, they're back in, and Baby Knight gets the last hit on the tower, close to finishing his Dragonlance, and Dragonlance makes it even easier to push. So we're seeing Cloud9 start to take control, push down all these outer towers, and it'll be a similar story to last game, just a little bit slower and later. They don't have that lone druid with the early level 7 Spirit Bear to push with, but what they do have is going to be the Chen creeps and an SF soon enough who can just take all these objectives on the map.
Sadly, Loda, you are not quite fast enough to be able to catch that courier bottom lane. Hester Joe's going to be stunned up, has the Ion Shell to contend with, but he can't just charge out. Oh, Yoda Savad, you saw him. He tried to get the animation out for vacuum.
Yeah.
It stopped that charge. Maybe they would have actually killed Eileen's Spirit Breaker.
Good attempt. Not often you see that value vacuum point level 7, but almost nets a kill for them in top lane. Pressure continues. Ace starting to feel fairly confident in himself after a tough laning stage. He's now got the max reactive armor, and he sees how low Limp is and wants to try bully him off this farm. Loda's actually being charged up. They know where Loda is and that he's coming in, but he's got support in the form of EGM's Shadow Demon.
Mr. Joe's going to bounce into EGM right as he tries to go for the disruption. He gets it off now, but Loda's already been dusted up. Slowed down by Ace, hit by the full combination. Hester Joe gets off the ultimate. Now EGM's going to be stunned up by Noya, trying to pursue out there. Clips him with the chakram. That'll be enough to get the kill. Oh, and look at that. Baby Knight's got another haste rune, so jog on over here. Burst down the wave with the Chen creeps. They'll probably get this tier 2.
It's one of those games that could be like a 20-0 stomp, or if Alliance hold and get the Radiance at a good time, it'll be a very close neck-and-neck game. Like, Cloud9 are at serious risk of snowballing. They have the ability to take all these outer towers to keep finding kills. Hester Joe finds Limp at this mid lane, who doesn't have a TP, which is very dangerous for him. Some support from the Shrine
activated with the Surge. Limp will get there. Yeah, as a regen, he's good, but he is at such a precarious time in his lifeline because Timbersaw, you've got this whirling death. Just cuts the Alchemist down. It's so much quick damage just with the strength reduction as well as just the pure damage cutting you down. He has to play so safe, and Alliance have to play around him for the most part. And that sadly means that this Alchemist is going to get farmed, but pretty much no one else is. Maybe Loda will get some farm, but I feel like these supports are going to be the poorest supports you've ever seen, which means no initiation from Hans.
I mean, Shadow Demon's still bootsless at 11 minutes in. EGM is in poverty central right now.
He's level 3!
Oh, I didn't notice that bit.
Okay. Poor Egum.
Yeah,
Shen heal. Oh.
He hasn't. It's not really through fault of his own. The pressure down bottom came very early through the Chen rotation. And once that Chen rotates bottom, what lane do you go to? You can't help mid. It's an Alchemist. Like, there's no kill potential there. Perhaps you join up with your Slaughter and Darks here up top, but then you're sharing XP 3 ways. This has just been a very difficult to lane game for Alliance due to the nature of their draft. They went very greedy. The Alk, and what you mentioned about the Timbersaw makes me kind of worried because even if this Alk manages to quietly free farm away, get a good timing on his Radiance through the jungle farming, he is still going to be countered by Timbersaw at most stages, all stages of this game really, until maybe late game where he picks up a BKB as one of his items. But right now, Limp has got to be a bit concerned.
So they're going for a quick push up and top lane. This is the one big advantage. They do have the split push possibilities. The problem is Spirit Breaker is the split push counter. Loda's going to TP out, and charge is canceled. Buy has to go.
Just like they recognize like a common theme in some of Alliance's games and wins. They're always going for this heavy split push style. They'll struggle in the lanes a bit, resort to split pushing, play this scrappy game, and I mean, they identified Spirit Breaker is the hero to fight that, and that's something which is already this game causing problems, because Alliance would love to be able to split push with Clinks to try and just like backdoor some towers. Alchemist, similar thing, but it's being taken away from them.
Bottom tower is under attack.
I think Cloud9, it seems like their pushing power, they're one of the best teams that I've seen, just straight up pushing and taking these objectives in the first 10 minutes, and that also seems to be something that runs contradictory to what Alliance want to be able to accomplish. They always have a kind of rough laning phase in general, and rough laning phase just means that Cloud9 run you over when it comes to objectives. They get such a large gold lead that certain kills, like maybe this one, with Loda picturing, he's peeking at Rise, trying to think maybe I can actually kill him, but it's not possible. He just has too much armor. He's got Ring of Basilis and Helmet Dominator plus point booster.
Sad state of the game when at 30 minutes as a Clinks roaming around, you can't kill support. It's only your bread and butter. And the other support's a Spirit. Well, no, the Spirit Breaker's not a support. The other support, Vivioga, is also very tanky. Spirit Breaker as an offlane is very tanky. Every Cloud9 hero is mostly immune to getting solo killed by a Clinks. He needs a +1, but I guess that's the Slaughter. So we go back to what Alliance can do, and it's going to come down to perhaps Hanskin's Blink Dagger timing to help find pickoffs with Loda. And that Blink is not too far away, but it's also not particularly close.
That's definitely not. And if they lose, they try and fight. I think they actually almost have to give up these tier 2 towers just because they don't have that form of initiation. That sounds terrible, right? Especially in 7.0. Don't give up all your tier 2 towers. They'll take your shrines. But it almost seems like Alliance have no other options.
They're not ready to fight. None of their heroes on like no Blink Slaughter. This is somewhat itemless as well. Like, he's just had such a rough time with his lane and his inability to find kills when he did try and start roaming because of the advantage C9 had, that their whole lineup is not ready. They haven't even got Demonic Purge, so life is looking pretty difficult. Wall hasn't been leveled up just yet either. He's got 3 points in vacuum now, so imagine we'll see like a level 10 onto the wall happen, but there we go. Another tier 2 tower, undefended. Loda's bottom, I guess, trying to see if anyone TP's in that he can pick off, but again, who is that going to be? There's not really anyone that he can pick off.
Even if he does see somebody, not to be scared. Anytime he shows himself, Spirit Breaker's charging him. Every single time Loda's revealed himself on map for like a tower push or something, he's had to TP in 5 seconds. This is ridiculous. He's watching a creep wave die because he can't show on map. So scared of the space count.
They want to go for Ace. They saw him with an observer ward, but Ace isn't so much running away from them as he is just power farming his way through the jungle. He's out of mana, so I don't imagine he'll hang around much longer, but Alliance, can they get here in time? They're close, and they will find him. They missed the vacuum,
They missed the vacuum, and they missed the crush.
Disaster! That was like Ace did this little like stutter step where he suddenly turned around, not before he even saw Loda, and it completely caught that Darkseer by surprise. He thought he was walking into him, then it turned out he was actually going to retreat.
The sad part is, even if they did get that game, even if they got him with the disables, they vacuumed him, they crushed him, all that sort of thing, they wouldn't get that kill. Most likely, Ace would just be able to suicide. Because I don't think they burst him fast enough.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, he'd gradually get the reactive armor up, and then at that point, searing arrows do less and less. I think it was very low chance they actually got the true kill on him. Already down bottom, C9 are grouped up, pushing things out. There's no real split push threat right now. Top lane, this is a tier 2 tower, which is full HP. Loda's going to try and push it out with the help of the Iron Shell, but this tier 2 tower is dropping faster, and there goes the charge. They're going to look to set up. Potential rotation from Ace, although Loda is well and truly back to safety and TPing himself out.
Alright, there goes tier 2. All gone.
Which means there goes the shrines, probably.
Not sure if they want to go straight for this shrine though. Alliance do know Spirit Breaker is not here, as well as Timber Saw. Maybe wait until
got the Aegis perhaps, so we'll see how they play this one out. Seth, very, very scary. I always find it interesting. He did this last game and it was just like, oh, that's unexpected. He doesn't actually go treads on SF. I feel like that's something. I mean, it's a very small thing. It doesn't really change all too much, but I feel like most players will be picking up treads in the early game just for the cost effectiveness of the item.
Who needs boots? I guess. That's to Joe charging in on Jonas and Fun, but he's got the surge far enough back. They don't want to pursue that one.
One trend down, one to go. Doesn't look like the Sages is going to be any kind. This is like such a classic Cloud9 game. I feel like every game it's like push like all the tier 1 towers by about 10 minutes in. Roshan, push all the tier 2 towers with Aegis. Aegis expires, and then second Rosh is when they start eyeing up the high ground. Like the first Aegis is typically all the outer towers plus shrines down, and that's exactly what's happened this game.
I'm gonna draw him boots. Take these boots. EGM, take them. Take your poor boots, dude. It's 18 minutes in, he's wandering around. Oh god, EGM must be the most miserable support ever.
And he's probably being told, like, we need more sentries or something. Like, he's got 200 gold. Does that go towards boots? I don't think so. Tomb of Knowledge, which probably isn't even for him, you know. He's, like, gonna have to pull that Tomb of Knowledge to, like, Slaughter or something. I don't know.
Speaking of Slaughter, is he have Blink? No. Alright, he's gonna farm top. He's getting closer and closer.
Oh, Chen loses a couple creeps. Not the end of the world. One got eaten, another got killed, but don't imagine this was the stage of the game where C9 eyeing off the Ags plus second Roshan timing of theirs, the ancient creeps for Chen. Perhaps want level 2 ultimates so you can get 2 ancients, which is maybe a little bit further away, but this is kind of like a stage of the game where they're not really making a realistic attempt to push high ground. They'll make a realistic attempt to find some smoke pickups, though. That is something that Limp has to be worried about.
Yeah, if they can keep Limp down, he's still a money bag. Even if Cloud9 are very, very far ahead, it's still 12,000 net worth on the Alchemist to be worthwhile kill, especially with all the experience that he has as well. Not finding anything with the smoke rotation. They're just a bit slow. They are going to be able to get a charge out on Hanskin. Hanskin, his Blink Dagger is in danger.
Oh, no.
It's in danger. He's got 2,200 HP. He needs 25 gold. Somebody give him a branch to sell.
Well, he only loses 150 gold. Doesn't lose too much money based on the advantage we're seeing.
Yeah, that's true.
But oh, there's another charge. Jonas, he's got no TP. Can anyone else get there?
Vacuum, nice play. Doesn't have the ultimate, so AGM, oh god, AGM can't run away that quickly. He does have his boots now. Yodasafan Surge, Urge on to Hesta Joe, slows down everything down. Nice plays, will cover each other pretty well.
Looks like Loda found the courier.
Going straight for Ace. Ace got a lot of armor. He's got the plate mail. Value plate mail.
He's unkillable, I'm pretty sure at this point. No magic damage, so to speak of. I have a very early Shiva's Guard for the team. This gets harder and harder for Alliance. Next, Roshan, as mentioned, going to be the key timing from the Yag Scepter. Can be bought now for Ryze if he wants to. Yeah, he's going to TP back to base to pick that one up, it looks like.
Alright, well, what's his... They've got the Ancient Thunder Hides on both sides, so I just have to get the early Frenzy. Golem.
Yeah, not too bad, not the end of the world. I like this from Noya. Last game, Sing touched on was the lack of these team fight pushing item. He goes for the mech this game. Last game was a 4-staff and other items like that didn't really offer as much. So this time around, he'll make sure they have all those team fight items. Well, last game on the Earth Spirit, it was a different kind of scenario, but even when he's playing the Ogre, he doesn't often go this mech build, but this is something that will complete the full 5-man push puzzle Cloud9 and hopefully allow them to break through that high ground a little bit easier.
Loda's searching for any jungle to farm, but most of it's covered. His jungle is covered. He ran into
It's a Bloodstone on the ground. He walked by, that Bloodstone was on the ground for a little bit too long in my mind.
Alongside the Arcane Rune that he already has. But again, what are you going to do with it? There's no kills he could get, even with support.
Did end up finding a Granite Golem, so that's an ideal scenario for the Chen. And I mean, Alliance, like, score aside, like, this is still not completely all over. We've seen how good their high ground defense can be. They've got the Alchemist. They are still going to be looking to just use that Darkseer Slaughter duo to vacuum crush people with a wall on top, as well as the Alchemist Acid for the high ground defense and try and take it late, but see how well that works.
There's a blink away ahead of the Shivas. You are right, gods. Alliance, they do have experience being down by 10,000 net worth, which high ground defense. They've got the Alchemist. They have the opportunity for a comeback, man. Just need to finish up those items so they can get the full split push, and maybe with those illusions pushing out constantly and the TPs around, maybe they can finally buy space for Blinks to farm jungle more. He picks up the Dasso. Next thing you know, firepower on.
Walks into Hestajo, but I'm not going to see anything there. I think this is where you just start backdooring tier 1s, give them with some damage, and then Skeleton Walk away. He's seeing bottom lane, I think just waiting for the Skeleton Walk to come up. This is really all you can do at this point as it clinks. It's better than nothing, but unfortunately his teammates are getting caught out right now.
Oh, go Loda. You know the Spirit Breaker just charged.
Okay. Now I guess he's lost his window, but he's waiting perhaps for another charge. I'm not. He's also lost his Death Pact, but I think with that Spirit Breaker charge, you just hit 5 seconds. Even if you don't get the tower, maybe you get it the second time you do it, and any money for you and your team is valuable at this point. There's the charge in top.
Lampon gonna be pushed back here, bursted down by Ace. Death. We'll give Loda some tower time.
Yeah, he should get this.
Get that one. They're threatening the tier 3s on both sides. Actually managed to dance around Limp, so he stunned himself. The disruption's just gonna set up Baby Knight for the ultimate with the Timber Saw over the top. It's too much damage. Ace is right in the middle of everyone, and none of Alliance can focus him down. He just has too much armor. They turn towards him now with the Corrosive Haze. They're trying to get in front of him, but it just doesn't do any damage. Now Loda has actually stepped a little bit too far. He's going to be charged up. He does have a surge, but the stuns. Now a disruption comes out, but Baby Knight does hit one raise off of that one. Shrines are healing Loda up. Okay, Limp. He has the unstable concoction, knows that they really can't tread out too far outside the base. They're just buying themselves a little bit of time here. Cloud9 aren't really hitting on the buildings like they should, and they are losing some Chen creeps, and they are beginning to lose some HP. They can't go for the push.
Buybacks force, though. I think ultimately they weren't going to be able to get the buildings on that push because of the buybacks, and now they'll just have to reset, heal up, and have another go with the Aegis. They've still got
more than enough time to try and break through the high ground with it. They can wait for the Requiem to come back up if they want. They can wait for the Hand of God and then make another go at it. So still a big win, just making sure those buybacks go on cooldown. And now you've got Aegis with buybacks down for a good couple of minutes. So Alliance under pressure. They actually smoke up looking to take a fight and perhaps recognizing that Cloud9 is somewhat split up, waiting for some of those cooldowns to come back up. If they can catch someone like Ace, that's also a gem, that'd be fantastic, but killing him, ooh, that'll be tough.
Man, Loda can't even split push anymore because the Shadow Blade. As long as Spirit Breaker remains off map, he's going to be terrified at all times.
Yeah.
With vision down, they still won't know if Hesta Joe's coming. Or Loda's bony body. He's got that death sword.
And yeah, they're not even heading... Oh, are they heading top? Like, some of them are considering it, but now they kind of disperse out. EGM's picking up a gem.
All right, they hit the vacuum, stopping Ace's TP. Ace just keeps walking forward now. He is dropping pretty low here. He's going to try and get a Timber Chain away the last couple shots. Bloodstone deny. But still, that is Bloodstone charges down to 11. It's something for Alliance to hold on to. Oh, was it gem too? Damn.
Yeah, he was the gem carrier. So now Alliance have both gems. EGM bought one of his own, which he's probably thinking, man, I wish I had that 900 gold right now. But, you know what you got to do for your team. He took out some wards already with it. I mean, it's not like a necessity, but having a gem helps a lot with your base defense because it denies all that aggressive vision. So you can actually leave your base undetected, which is something where the second you leave your base, you're getting charged up earlier, and that's where Spirit Breaker really likes having aggressive vision on his team. So back to defending the high ground. Aegis still has 2 minutes left on it. There's an Eagle Song for Baby Knight in his backpack just for now, and I imagine they'll be eyeing off at least a high ground attempt using the Aegis.
Loda's not really ganking heroes. Creeps away some of the Chen creeps from time to time. He'll be set up now. Found a good place to farm. No one's around, finally. All of Cloud9 are right in front of them. He'll feel safe to be able to farm these 3 neutral. Start building up a buyback. That's the sad part, right? Is that buyback is kind of necessary for some of these Alliance heroes to hold on to, especially since they're missing 2 of them on the Darkseer and the Alchemist.
Yeah.
Ooh, an interception on the Courier. That'd be a nice pickup.
I think he just wants the tower, but he'll see the Courier and should go for it. Loda, there we go.
Got it. Here comes the charge. TP out, Loda, run!
Structures are fortified.
Well played.
Charge. Cloud9 though are beating on the tower. EGM forced away by just Manta Illusions. Here comes the concoction. Limp pops out with the vacuum. They managed to get a decent amount of damage done. Disruption now on a Baby Knight on top of the Darkseer wall. There's going to be a lot of illusions beating on a Baby Knight. He needs to start retreating. You could see already on to half health. Rise is forced to use his heal to help him out. They have to deal with this this wall and these disruption illusions first before they continue pushing.
Yeah. I think for Alliance, just trying to buy time for that Aegis to expire. About 30 seconds left on this is where we may just see Baby Knight suicide himself.
Double catcher on Baby Knight. He looks to be committing. Unstable concoction on it. Hesta Joe with the stun from Hanskin. Does allow Loda the time to be able to get the damage done. The vacuum in, but it doesn't actually pull the SF. He just instantly dies. Now, second light. Pops his BKB. Looks to finish off the melee racks. He will have it. Now throws out that ultimate. Just trying to force Alliance far enough back that Cloud9 can retreat without being pursued. Now, Alliance are still going to try, and they may be able to get him, too. Hanskin is smoked up. It's about initiating. Thinks better of it, though. Cloud9 forming a decent high ground defense, knowing that just running away is probably not the best play.
Yeah, I mean, they need to back off together. This is where if like someone TP's out, may the death of 3 of your teammates. So no one's TPing out, just backing off together as a unit and setting themselves up to probably focus around that next Roche fight. They really need to try to get some vision and map control back, but very hard to do so having lost that gem. So just that one single kill really changes so much this game, with the gem being lost and suddenly Cloud9 being slowed down quite significantly. This is definitely where Cloud9 have struggled in the past, where they take all these outer towers. When they actually comes to executing the high ground push, they're not sloppy about it, but they just lack that player to take the initiative. The only way they get that melee racks is through Baby Knight just throwing away his Aegis, respawning with BKB, and then just BKB hitting it. Like, I feel like a lot of other teams you watch doing that high ground push are getting it in much cleaner ways by finding a jump, getting a pick off, or at least not having to just like brute force their way through it with the BKB. So C9 do end up getting the racks, but it doesn't come all too easily for them.
Do have some time to work with, but they do have to be worried. This Alchemist clock is ticking. He got the Manta complete now in 2,700 gold, so he starts working towards that Octarine. The Octarine is really well there. The farm build is complete for the Alchemist. He's spewing out these illusions non-stop and always has chem. That's when the real scary time hit. On9 still have a little bit to work with. No counter vision, of course, on C9, or at least no gem anyway, unless they're going to blind dust. So Lota feels comfortable scouting out all 5 heroes. Does see the full rotation. Is going to start cutting the creep wave. Or maybe not. Makes one creep wave.
Yeah. Against charge, you just can't. It's miserable. He's back mid, though. He knows there's no glyph, so this mid tier 1 tower should be a freebie.
One shot.
Has fallen.
Chunk of change or Alliance. What do you do with your Clinks, though? What that he has. Once he gets enough to commit to an item, what is it?
I'd say Lincoln's. So personally, that's what I would want to get this game, just against that charge. So you can actually split push. The second your Lincoln's gets popped, you just invis run away. I think that's probably the item that will give him the highest impact on this game. Doesn't necessarily have a big impact in a team fight, but you're not really looking to team fight outside of a high ground defense. And there's no like big team fight, like there's no great amazing item for high ground defense. It looks like he's gonna go Orchid though. Not a huge fan of this item, but I also don't like Ace's build. Not going for a Lotus Orb against the Slardar is, to me, a bit of a mistake. If he had a... I mean, one thing, it's extra armor. Another, you just get rid of the Corrosive Haze. Like, that time at top lane, like, having a Lotus Orb instead of an Ag Scepter seems to me like a better approach. The build that he's doing with the Ags gives him a ton of more burst damage, so it's like more like a counter to the Alchemist, but it doesn't help protect himself.
I do feel like they did enough to deal with the Alchemist in their early game. I don't think he really... I agree with you. I think Lotus Orb would have done a lot for him. Hell, even bouncing back with a concoction.
Yep.
Either way, right? Well, he can get a Lotus Orb pretty quickly with the way they're able to cap after he gets...
Nah, he's gonna have to just be concerned about getting burst down at the start of a fight. Like if he gets Blink Crushed and then Unstable Concocted, even with an Octarine, he's not gonna be able to throw spells if he's disabled to get value from that lifesteal. But as it stands, I imagine there's going to be like a Cheese or an Aegis coming his way if they want, with the next Roshan soon to spawn, and that's when we'll see Cloud9 probably go towards that top lane. Push on the opposite side from the melee racks they've already taken, and with an Aegis Cheese, that should be a possible claim for themselves.
5 seconds. So Roshan is up. Pretty early one. Cloud9. Oh, they may still wait, even if they get this Aegis. They still have the Satanic that's pretty close. They have the Octarine that's quite close as well. And then last one is BKB, Hester Joe. Those are all significant upgrades that, in particular, Hester Joe's BKB would allow him to just charge in against the Clinks and force defensive disruptions on that hero, which then sets Baby Knight up for a clear roll.
Baby Knight TP'd out just as the smoke gate came his way.
Wow. Disruption hits just before he bumps the Clinks. EGM not able to make it out in time. That's going to be the gem back at the hands of the Spirit Breaker.
Ogre was just about to buy a new one. It looked like he had it queued up on his quick buy, but they'll get gifted one instead. It was a nice pickup to have. The whole time SF was in the Roche pit, securing themselves Aegis, and it's go time again for C9. Unless, like you said, there's perhaps a few key items that they're close to finishing between the Satanic and the Octarine core that they're possibly going to look to wait for first. SF, yeah, he's going to get a Satanic from the side shop and push out this bottom lane a bit more.
a cheese in his backpack as well. They don't really need anybody else to have these extra lives. It's Baby Knight. Gonna be charged with pushing high ground. So, gonna put the Satanic, switch out the Dragonlance, then have the cheese available to fill up that Aegis slot when necessary. A real test for Alliance. Near impossible one at that. Disruption goes out. Here comes the stun and a purge onto Baby Knight. They're trying to take this first life away from him without real commitment, but Baby Knight is still strong enough to fight through that and has a Satanic active still ready to go. Now the vacuum into the crush, but a BKB activated first. Baby Knight lets loose that ultimate. Hester Joe got a charge, but Alliance did back away from the ultimate pretty nicely timed. Hester Joe with the corrosive haze on him. Loda's trying to finish him off, but can't quite do it. Limp goes back in. Baby Knight trying to aid his way through this, but there goes that Aegis. They got the tier 3 tower. And they do have these SF disruption illusions. They're going to be able to beat on Baby Knight with the corrosive haze. He's going to lose his life pretty quickly. He eats, but he's not fast enough. Limp now comes forward. Ace trying to get away. Does get hit by the unstable concoction. He's so tanky, but they might still be able to bring him down with all this minus armor. He does fall. No deny this time around. A huge swing for Alliance. Did that even cost them buybacks? That wasn't a single buyback used.
It's like deja vu from the last fight. Alchemist doing 9,000 damage, and from the last game as well. That was another Alliance high ground hold, and Cloud9 struggling to break through again. They had Aegis, Cheese, both on the Shadow Fiend, and all they got was a tier 3 tower. That is concerning. You've got the Chen backing him up. Like, it's just not working for Cloud9. They perhaps, I mean, it really is this very caveman-esque approach where it's just like go and bash your head against the enemy base and hope it works out. They perhaps need to be trying to smoke, find a pick-off, use the Spirit Breaker charge, because they get no value out of their Spirit Breaker in a fight like that. They're just giving Alliance like a positional advantage, and Alliance heavily taking advantage of it.
Yeah, they're acting like Alliance is stuck inside their base at all times. That's not actually the truth here. Ace is already down to half health. Ace made G drop before this whole entire fight happens. He gets the deny off this time around. EGM dies in return, but Cloud9 do not have the advantage in this engagement. They need to back away. Hanskin's going to be able to catch more. Noya's going to be the target. Send back attempted here by Rise with a little bit of extra heal. Noya does get sent back in time, but Rise is going to be caught. Corrosive Haze surge onto Limp. He's here to take that Chen down. They did manage to keep the gem on Noya because of that send back save by Rise, but yet another win, and these wins are not insignificant. Even with the deny on the Timber Saw, that was still about 1,200 gold exchange by itself. Combine how much gold Alliance will get during this downtime. Maybe all these creeps, maybe even the tier 2 tower. Alliance, you're talking about a 2, 3, 4,000 gold swing in this minute worth of time.
Cloud9 trying to outdo themselves. They're like, all right, 20k gold lead last game. Let's do it with a 25k gold lead this game. This is...
I mean, that was a 20k gold lead by 40 minutes. This time around, they had a 20k gold lead about at 30.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of their approach to pushing high ground there. Just brute forcing it too much. I think their itemization isn't the best as well. Not having a Lotus Orb. If you could put a Lotus... Your SF goes high ground, you want him to have either a Linken's or a Lotus Orb. I think he should have gone a Linken's instead of Satanic, because then he doesn't get disrupted. That's what you saw Luna's doing when the team started picking SD against the Luna for the push, so you can make the Luna illusions. These Lunas just are on the front lines with a Linken, so you can't straight up disrupt her so easily. And I think if Baby Knight has a Linken's, if someone like Spirit Breaker has a Lotus Orb, or ideally the Timbersaw has a Lotus Orb, you put those items on SF, and that's a free Rax. I think those items, it's a whole lot easier to push, and their approach to pushing their itemization this game has really made it difficult for themselves.
What do they do next, Gons?
They
wait for the next Aegis?
Roche number 4, you know?
Yeah, I guess.
First 3 times don't work.
Try again.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine their change in approach is going to be trying to find those pickoffs before breaking high ground. I mean, they were even at a point where Alk and Darkseid didn't have buyback. They had Aegis. They theoretically could have just won the game right there, and Alliance, playing one of the best high ground defending teams out there right now, really showcasing that. Alchemist is reaching that 6-slotted point, though. Not too many amazing Aghanim Scepters to go around this game. Shadow Demon probably one of the better ones, but other than that, it's like Darkseid is average. It's not not amazing by any means. Perhaps the SF illusion can be quite potent, but any of the other illusions aren't going to matter all too much.
In my head, that Clinkz had an Aghanim Scepter upgrade.
I was honestly going through the different heroes, Slatter as well. I was like, 7.00. Were there any new Ags upgrades on these heroes? Clinkz and Slatter still do not have Ags, I believe.
You know, for some reason, I was also thinking that at level 25, Clinkz would eat. Oh wow, that's not good.
It's been like his home for a lot of this game. This enemy ancients, he's often being able to farm there freely, but this time around he walks into a gem of all things.
This is the pickoff that you've been talking about for quite some time. Now it's time to brute force it, right, Gods?
Sort of.
At least brute force the buyback.
Yeah,
right?
the buyback. Yeah. But ideally, if you're Alliance, you're thinking, let's buy back as Darkseid gets a good vacuum into Slatter, Crush, Wall.
Wrap it around with the smoke. This is
smoke?
a weird interesting play, but they're going to be able to catch EGM if they stop this disruption. That's big. He does not have buyback. So the buyback comes in reactionary from Loda. They do have a wall, though, and they do have a crush. That's a 4-man vacuum wall crush with the unstable concussion over the top, but it's still not enough. Cloud9 has survived through it. Now they get the rebuttal, throw out the ultimate of Baby Knight, and they all start retreating. That was too close of a call for Cloud9. They don't want to fight until they can recompose themselves.
Yeah, that's finally some, I guess, nuance to their push. It's not just this, let's brute force it, it's this, okay, let's wrap around and get the Shadow Demon. That Shadow Demon SF illusions, that last fight, were probably like one of the biggest sources of damage from the Alliance side, so killing him makes a decent difference. Problem is now, you're going to be back alive, so you need to find a new plan, whether that's Roshan, whether that's getting another pick off. Loader bought back, so you have that buyback cooldown to play around, and they're probably thinking they can have Aegis and Cheese while Loader's buyback is still down, and then try and make a big play or get a big pick off.
Running back in, seeing if they can get a quick pick, and they'll have it. Hanskin with the Invis ultimate of Hesta Joe bumps them into a pretty nasty place. Another buyback being used by Alliance. Stun comes out. Ace making sure that he is always on the front lines. And when they're retreating, wants to make sure he's the target.
Yeah, they're starting to pick Alliance apart, and every buyback can make a big difference. Again, it's like that. Now there's 2 buybacks on cooldown when you get Aegis and Cheese, so Cloud9 likely just discussing, all right, are there any big items that we need? We want to push the second we get this Aegis and Cheese, we want to be ready to go before those buybacks come back up, and maybe now it looks like we'll have an Assault Crest fairly soon. Be somewhat item slot limited. Perhaps swap it in once he's used his BKB in a fight.
He does need that intense armor upgrade against all illusion.
Yeah. I guess it's also a temporary AC for your opponent, so is the other way of looking at it as well, though. Any Ag Scepters coming out from the Alk? Doesn't look like he's pulled... did he pull one to the Ducks? No. What did he buy? He had more money earlier, didn't he? Oh, no, I guess not.
He didn't have the buyback, so sure.
Yeah. Oh, he got the AC. Okay, yeah, he had the Shivers, but not the AC. So he's replaced his armlet with the AC. There we go. I was like, I'm sure there was like 6k gold on Limp at some point. He didn't buy a Moonshard. But yeah, that makes more sense.
Illusion pushing out, checking out the Roshan pits. That is Alliance's another one of those windows, maybe for a comeback. If they're finally strong enough to go out and fight C9. Yes, it's an uphill battle, but before it wasn't even an option. Now they can do that. Maybe they can contest Roshan if they actually get the right vision. Unfortunately, the Illusion did not scout Roche, and it's going to spawn quite soon.
There is also a Bloodthorn unloaded for the next fight, and that's where again I feel like no Lotus Orb against Bloodthorn. Like, what is happening? 45 minutes in, you got to have some way of countering. I mean, the Baby Knight has his own. Like, he can personally Manta or BKB out, but if he's in a crush or something, that Bloodthorn will amplify a lot of the damage coming out onto him. But he'll have an Aegis. He'll have plenty of survivability. It's probably more so what his team will have.
Drops his boots into the backpack, takes up the Aegis. Cheese will be grabbed by Ace.
And C9 have another smoke. I'd like to see them to go for. I don't know if you want to go for the same play because Alliance may be ready for it, but I think they need to somehow go through that bottom or top lane and try and catch some heroes by surprise. Ace may just die up top.
Ace is caught again. Now he does have the cheese, and the team can make their way over. They're not bursting the Ace down nearly fast enough, so he's going to be able to get a lot of damage on Hanskin, who's currently being charged. Finished up by Joe. No crush in time. They're going to catch a little bit more here. EGM tries to slow down Noya, but the rest is C9 coming forward here. Baby Knight gets a couple of swipes onto EGM. Turn around disruption. Wall vacuum. Great combination, but do they have any follow-up? Baby Knight activates the BKB. Let's loose the ultimate. Alliance all the way back to the shrines now, activating those and trying to fight underneath them as best as possible. Limp is tanking enough, but Loda has to deal with Ace's damage. Turns around, kills Noya. That's the gem on the deck. Limp, he doesn't have his chemical rage for another 4 seconds, so he's kind of humming around, not sure what to do as his melee racks ends up falling. Now he pops that chemical rage, but it's all up to Loda to dish out the damage. That's why Joe goes straight for the backline. Surge activated, but the stuns are still there. A backing wall together. Joe may drop from the Radiance, but it's Baby Knight who managed to finish off Jonas and Vaughn with the help of Ace. Now it's Limp and Jonas and Vaughn against the 3 of C9, trying to push them out of this space.
Yeah, they're playing without a wall now. Game gets a lot more difficult. Limp's down. We'll have to buy back to try and salvage this one. They've got Shadow Demon as well, so they can try and use that disruption. And
they need the disruption to go down. They managed to get the vacuum in with the crush. Baby Knight does not have a BKB, so he's going to be stunned up with his own illusions fighting into him, but the Satanic is doing a little bit too much. A corrosive haze, though, it finally comes in, and that is the extra damage needed. Ace will fall as well. Round 2 for Baby Knight, but he's just getting instantly stun locked down. Rise can't even send him back to base, so Rise is going to fall as well. Somehow, some way, Alliance finds a way to be able to hold this game together for a little bit longer.
Yeah. Alliance is such a roller coaster team. Like they start that fight off at top lane in such a disastrous way, missing. I mean, Loda, I think, starts the gank a bit too early because Slardar was not in position for the Blink Crush, and it scared off the Timbersaw, so that Slardar then ended up missing the Crush. It didn't get the Corrosive Haze off. With a Bloodthorn there and no way out for the Timbersaw, that should be a free pickoff. If he comes out with the Crush and the Corrosive Haze, Timbersaw dies very fast since he has 0 reactive armor charges at the start of the gank, but they basically throw away their lives because they mess up that gank and put themselves in a terrible position. But through sheer force of will and their amazing high ground defense, again, Alliance hold on for a little bit longer.
Remember that? What was it? It was a qualifier. I think it was the Shanghai qualifiers, or maybe it was the
Mega Creep game.
The Mega, it was Alliance versus I think Nip at the time.
It was
Mega Creeps. You know, if this happens, if Cloud9 lose this game, it will be very similar because they may not be Mega Creeps involved, but they had enough of an advantage.
It's
Cloud9,
now, it's now a bigger advantage. 35k gold. Like, I don't think there's much more you can get in terms of items and advantage at this point. 4 racks as well. No Mega Creeps.
Oh gods. Apparently Ace, he thinks your ideas are dumb. He's never gonna go Lotus Sword.
Yeah,
he's going Dagon. Corrosive Haze is not a problem, apparently. EGM. Oh, Joe almost had him, but he managed to walk out of range of that gem. Won't be able to stay ahead of it. Joe actually turns towards Limp instead, but he already got the stun with the Bloodthorn. Ace is getting ripped apart. He managed to get off the deny, but that may not be good enough. He's out of the fight, and Baby Knight's going to have to carry this damage alone. He's already killed EGM, though. He's underneath the wall. Limp is pursuing him. They really want to be able to catch him with the BKB down, but they'll have to suffice with just a Rise kill instead. The Corrosive Haze, and they get that kill. Joe did manage to get away, it looks like. Don't have gem on either one of these heroes. Noya, far enough south that I'm not sure if they want to pursue that either.
Are they going to force a lane here? They've got creeps straggling along in mid. Well, I think Ace can have a few words about my ideas based on how he died that fight.
Where is the Lotus Orb, gods? Where is it?
Geez, I'm getting so tilted right now. If this was my pub game, I'd be raging so hard right now on my mic if this was my teammate in pub game.
I mean, Joe got an Aghanim Scepter over having a Lotus Orb to save his Timbersaw SF.
Yeah. I mean, I think more than anything, it's on Ace. Like, you just buy that Lotus Orb yourself. You buy that Lotus Orb after you get your Shivers card. Even if you don't, at some point you got to be like, all right, someone's going to get something to get rid of the Bloodthorn. Nope, no one is. Yeah, everyone's just like on their own. SF's like, I'm fine. I don't need to get help out. I just BKB or Manta out. But yeah, that is something.
Did we mention the Ags that was passed over to Darkseer now?
No, that's a new pickup.
Yeah,
okay,
that is a juicy pickup too. 140% replica damage. He hits that SF. It's a huge win for them. Moon Shard is going to be the next pickup for our Alchemist. He has 6 slotted right now.
Well, big late game talents look like Timbersaw gets the extra Whirling Death reduction. Alchemist, what's Alchemist 25? I feel like he's 30% life still. That's fairly handy. And SF, of course, having the extra attack range. I feel like SDAGs could be very handy this game. Triple Demonic Purges, and some. And if you go on the Timbersaw at the very start, you take away that reactive armor.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The BKBs dwindling here for C9, all down to 5 seconds apiece. Baby Knight starts going for the high ground once again, tries to go for the Manta dodge on top of the Unstable Concoction. Now has to deal with Wall of Replica on top of him. Covering his tracks, though. They get a force staff back, and Ace with the double chakram keeps Alliance from pursuing. That is the Wall of Replica down. I think C9 are happy enough with that.
Yeah, will they re-engage now, though? It's still a scary thought for them, I imagine. Careful about how they approach this one. They're trying to just sit back. They are still scouted out by the Corrosive Haze, which is about to wear off an Alliance. Okay, they're not actually going to go out. They just run some illusions through. Trying to get to the following creep wave, and are losing most of their radiant vision outside of their base.
Stars slowly coming in. Bottom, here comes another route. Now, the last time they did this, it was a huge win. Ace kind of reveals it with that chakram, but who knows? Maybe out of vision, maybe they'll still be able to get this one. Loda pops the smoke, does manage to get far enough back that he doesn't get caught by Hester Joe. Lim turns around, but the BKB activated by Baby Knight. He goes straight for the melee racks. He doesn't give a damn about any heroes, but there goes the Glyph. Now he has to do something, but a disruption. The BKB's gone. Baby Knight in trouble, has to throw out his ultimate out just to be able to deal with those own illusions. Ace barely gets out with the Timber Chain, but Baby Knight right in the middle of everything goes for Jonas Safon, actually gets stunned up, gets a little bit more Satanic heal, a little bit more, but the Satanic is now gone. Lim takes a dagon shot from Ace. They activate the Shrine. They're keeping themselves alive. Hanskin in the back even survives. How the hell are they doing this? Loda turns towards Ace. Baby Knight's finally going to get dropped here. Gets a force staff, Hurricane Bank over the cliff, but he does go down. They've lost Baby Knight. They can push out, see if they can catch anything. Doesn't look like it. So Cloud9, they don't get that melee racks. They committed so heavily for it, but the glyph was used, and the whole entire fight ensues, and Cloud9 don't actually win.
This is some Dota game. This is just getting crazier and crazier as it goes on. And another big hold from Alliance. Cloud9 gonna be beating their heads against the wall at this point, thinking, what do we actually have to do? And I feel like the problem is their approach to winning this game is just that. They're beating their head against the Alliance wall.
Oh, there's an Aghanim's ulti. Hits Hanskin pretty hard, but there is still the Bloodthorn Corrosive Haze on Ace, and that's way too dangerous. They have to run away, even with that resounding bump from Hester Joe.
It was a nice use of the Ags there, but Alliance, SF down, they are pressing forward, seeing what they can get. They're going to get themselves a Roshan. This is great for them. Their carries actually have item slots. Loda's got a Ring of Aquila. He's got a gem. He's got plenty of room for an Aegis of Cheese. He would love to have one of these. This is
still rocking the healing salve and infused raindrop in his backpacks.
You know,
those are relics from a former era.
How fitting that it's Loda who carries them.
I mean, I wasn't gonna make that joke, but I'm glad you picked up on it.
No.
All right.
EGM's been pulled an Acceptor, so triple demonic purge with break.
Holy shit! EGM is rich. He's 13,000 net worth. He's above people in net worth.
How times have changed since he had no boots at 18 minutes.
Back when I was trying to draw him boots, EGM, he's now the wealthiest man in the support village. Ooh, jump here on Oskin and get a good stun and a disruption. That'll be threatening, but EGM already has some issues. He managed to eat the cheese. Hester Joe still pursuing out on the side. Baby Knight just kept running forward. Those illusions are actually not doing much, though. Hester Joe with the corrosive haze has issues. He goes down. Noya right in the middle of all of them as well. But Alliance doesn't care about those supports. They really want Baby Knight. They desperately need this kill. They're going to have to take Rise again instead. Baby Knight does manage to get out. Looks like the other core of Ace turns around, fights Hanskin a little bit. Do have the boots of travel too.
Oh, they seem to know where Noya is, but he's got to force TP out. So see if Loda can find him or not. Whoa, there we go.
Bloodthorn. Oh, not enough.
He's gonna live. Well, good bait from EGM. He goes charging in, takes a lot of spells, pops the cheese at a good time. Just getting that disruption off on SF, proven to be very important in these fights. And Alliance actually pushing out lanes. Wow. Then for once they're not defending high ground. It is now a 15,000 net worth lead. It's very good for Alliance considering where it was 5-10 minutes ago.
Oh yeah. I mean, the experience graph is almost even. It was never in the favor of Alliance, and we are drifting back towards an Alliance lead.
Close to the Darkseer clinks to 25. Clinks halfway there. Darkseer is still a full level away, but 12% cooldown reduction. Pretty damn nice for Jonason fam.
No.
If you can get
they
that
have the gem on EGM. Managed to catch Hester Joe, but he does have the BKB charge out. That is actually a pretty nifty escape. They do not have a way to deal with that, so he scouts them, sees all of Alliance bottom, gets some good information.
Okay. It's 5-second BKB anyway, so it doesn't matter. He has to use it, and Alliance have to get back to base. They're walking through Observer Ward vision as well, something they haven't been able to scout out even though they've got a gem, and wonder how much C9 just want to wait for that Aegis to expire. It's 2 minutes away. Feels like none of their plans as far as breaking high ground are working. In my mind, you definitely just want to let that Aegis expire. Often we've seen teams just fight into Aegis if they feel stronger, but kind of at that point where it's like a C9 really stronger. They are struggling to close this game out.
You won't have the Death Pact when you come back, and it seems like it's better to let Cloud9 just crash into you at this point.
Yep. Curious to see if Limp looks to progress in terms of like using his backpack for extra big items, like to toggle in and out of like the Manta or Shivers when they're on cooldown in a fight. They do a very short cooldown, so it does perhaps come with a
Smoke
risk.
pops. They found Hester Joe. They're going to be able to catch Noya as well. Hester Joe should be able to get out maybe with a charge. Oh no, the BKB wears out. He gets disrupted. Hester Joe going to be lost here as well. He is back in 40 seconds, so he's got that minus 40 re-second. Blake won't Druid.
Yeah, that's pretty nice for a Spirit Breaker to be able to play that aggressive scouting role and do so at lower risk. Load at mid may just take out some of these Chen Ancients. Want to risk it though. Being constantly pulled back. He's queued up another Ag Scepter, so be a stat sags for either himself or a teammate.
Who do you think has more value at this point?
Be just the Clinks, I guess. Give him some stats, but
does he actually? That is brilliant.
Wow.
Well played, EGM. He purges off the callback from the Chen. Nice Manta dodge too.
Oh, dude. I was watching
that was
Limp, I was
dope.
like, I don't think that stun's going to work too well for you, but that's so, yeah. Through some practice, you can time that pretty well, but even through practice, that's a very hard one to make. Will he get another Ags? He does. I feel like I'd rather see him go for like a 7-slotted, I don't know what item, like, I guess BKB potentially against the Timbersaw. Missile Blade's another consideration. I don't know.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you start
Mjolnir?
switching out one of those armor items, like the Shivas for Abyssal?
Abyssal, Mjolnir, both sound like a potential good late game item, even a BKB, because that Timber does so much damage. Oh, Ace has done it. T9 of 1. Hallelujah.
Nice.
Took him 59 minutes, but he's there.
He's got the Dagon 5 too.
I can breathe properly again.
Refresher being built by Jonas and Fun. Here's another question for you gods. Is that worth not having buyback? I think it might be. He gets the opportunity to complete refresher.
I think so. Play for the win, not to just drag out the game.
Charge on the limp. Nothing's going to come of it, though. Oh, God, this game is tense. Cloud9 trying to go high ground for like the 50th time this game. Silence. Manta dodge. Does still manage to get off that unstable concoction. Bounces back to limp. Stunned there. Ace going to be feeling a little bit more pokes from Boda. Does have some decent armor. Another Bloodthorn being used, this time on limp. That cooldown is so low.
Yeah. I feel like Loda really needs to fight around this ladder. He does not have enough items or really dish out all that much damage, so he needs to be attacking heroes that are hazed up, or at least being locked down by like the Alchemist or something.
Up down, stable concoction, pursuing Baby Knight. Now bounce back there with the Lotus Orb, but again, seems like both these teams are just poking at each other, waiting for the opportunity. There goes that Bloodthorn used onto Baby Knight here. They get a disruption now. This is a good opportunity for Alliance to push forward. They have some good damage, but they miss out on the crush. Baby Knight gets the BKB off. Now let's lose that ultimate, and Limp is held in place. He's been janked down. The Dagon, it pulls him down, and they do have to buy back on him almost immediately. Cloud9 have forced the buyback, and that's all they want out of this. But Jonas Amfan, he looks for the pursuit. He managed to get the Scythe of Ice. Good send back there. Cloud9 maybe dropping some heroes. They're probably going to lose Rise, but it looks like that's the only one. These heroes... Oh, no, that's not the only one. They caught Noya as well. But these are mostly the inconsequential heroes. Spirit Breaker comes back so quickly, and the other two cores are still alive.
Yeah, and Alliance will be very hesitant to push with Limp's buyback on cooldown. That's the kind of play which will lose them the game. After all their hard work to drag this one out to defend their high ground, any kind of big 5-man push into potential buybacks could be your Alchemist dying and the game just ending right there. So they'd much rather take Roshan. Dire Scan will see Hanskin walk into the pit. We're at that minimum Roche respawn time now, so find out soon enough. How long is it going to be? It's a short one, 40 seconds, but Cloud9 will have their entire team up for it. They're worried about Alliance snagging it.
God, I've been on the edge of my seat for feels like a half an hour, God. This is a big difference from game 2 as well. When we were just kind of like sitting back, you know, waiting for these pushes, waiting for Cloud9 to go for it again. But here, Cloud9 they've tried to go high ground, and I feel like I'm not actually exaggerating when I say like 15 times.
Yeah, that seems accurate. They are very persistent and paid off at times, giving them this 2 lanes of Rex advantage, but it doesn't really feel like an advantage at this point in the game. Entire Radiant side able to push out these lanes, and any farm advantage you once had is no longer an advantage, given that everyone is 6-slotted effectively at this point, outside of a select few.
Pushing forward, taking that high ground. They get the Scythe. Lotus Orb takes that one off, and there's a disruption, but it doesn't matter. It's the SF illusions that are really important. He goes forward, and again, BKB and ultimate. Every single time he gets disrupted. Hester Joe aiming for Limp, but he actually doesn't manage to get it off. He gets taken out by Loda's damage too quickly. C9, they're on this low ground. It's a terrible place to be. Now Ace has been stunned up before he can Timber Chain away, but Limp, he's trying to man fight up against Baby Knight, and he ends up going down the last couple of shots. Another round of disruption, and this time around, Baby Knight and Scythe the Ice up. He can't defend himself. He's corrosive haze. The illusions bring him down. Ace is the next target with the help of the Lotus Orb. He's trying to fight up against Hanskin, trying to get away, but the silence is lasting a bit too long. He does finally get a little bit more in the Hanskin. It looks like with the buybacks of C9, they will protect Ace's life, and it's Alliance who run back because they have 100 seconds left on the Alchemist.
That refresher. There we go. He got the refresh. He pops it immediately. He was 40 seconds away from the wall, but that's 40 seconds he actually would have had the 40 seconds because C9 go for Roche. They're going for the Aegis before the defense, so misread by Jonas. He could have actually waited for that wall to come back up, and now we'll have to play without it. 80 seconds. This is going to be tough. They've got to try and focus Baby Knight, but he's got an Aegis now to make up for that lack of buyback.
The Alchemist was so close to getting back to. If the Alchemist was still alive, able to walk away from that engagement, Lions could have another one of those legendary holds, but it begins. They manage to get the backing wall, but it doesn't actually clip the Baby Knight. He's just fighting up against his own disruption illusions. Has to go going straight for Loda in the background to actually use his ultimate, but he's already been Hurricane Piked farther back in the back lines. Hester Joe is too deep in, and Baby Knight's having a hard time fighting into this wall. He goes through it, and the illusion rips him apart immediately. That's going to be the Aegis. Another charge in. Hester Joe trying to force Loda back while Baby Knight goes for these illusions, but he does not have buyback. He can't afford to just suicide for Megas at this point in time. Baby Knight dropping a half health. Satanic heals him up to full. Loda all the way back, tries to have to go back to the fountain at this point in time just to be able to survive through all of this. C9 to push the Alliance back farther and farther back, and the Clinks ends up dropping. They've taken down the 2 damage dealers. Alliance are left with nothing left. They have to get through these tier 4 towers, but no buyback on Loda. They try and go for ace here with the corrosive haste, but they just lack the physical damage without the alchemist, without the clinks. Baby Knight comes forward. He'll take apart the rest of Alliance, and that will be it. Cloud9, destined or cursed for second place. Whatever way you want to put it, Cloud9 will take second place in their group and move on to the playoffs. Hats off to both teams. Hats off to Alliance, man. I mean, we're gonna talk about more Cloud9. We're gonna cast more games to them, but goddamn, Alliance 2 games in a row fight to the goddamn bitter end like that.